welcome to Dream It, Dare It, Do It, Live the Life You Want. We're talking about, how do we live the life you want? How do we do that, man? It's like, but you can't. You just can't live the life you love. You can't live the life you want. It's not possible, right? I think that that's something that I hear a lot. So let me just back up a little bit and say, I'm Jasmine, and I'm the host of Dream It, Dare It, Do It. And today I have my friend, Julie Stewart. Hi, Julie.
Hi, Jasmine.
How you
Great
doing?
to be here. Good. I'm good today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know if anybody else wonders, how do I pick my guests? But I realized that I just go with intuition. I'm literally like, oh, yeah, I think this would be good. Let's have a chat. And Julia and I have been working together on like little things that she needs for her business. And when we were talking, I was like, okay, we just have to do a podcast. And she accepted. So thank you.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
So we're talking for everybody who's listening, both Julie and I are Three Principles coach. So we were trained as a Three Principles coach. And Julie has a website called Wisdom Arising, which I love the name, wisdomarising.coach, right? That's what it is.
That's it.
And so can you tell me just a little bit more, like, how did you come up with that? Like, what was your, and also there's like horses in there. I mean, we just need to talk about that.
Yeah, well, I'm kind of all about wisdom. And I think I have been even long before the principles. And when I think of wisdom, I think of it's our innate knowing, and I think all the coaching schools and I've been trained through, I kept coming back to what's the core, what's within somebody that has nothing to do with our intellect. And we can find that, access that through different ways, by being in silence and listening to ourselves. We can access it by being in nature, anything that helps us slow down and listen to ourselves. I've trained in equine guided coaching. I've trained in leadership embodiment, which is very embodied somatic based coaching. I've trained with Three Principles. But everything is always pointing to the same thing. I mean, literally. So I just realized that, it's not about any methodologies or specific. It's always about pointing to what is within us. And so for me, it is a very much a visceral feeling of when I feel and know that knowing inside, it rises, it expands, it grows. So I just thought it was catchy.
Yeah, I like it. I personally like it. It's funny. This week I heard something like that made me just reflect and go, yeah. I used to think that wisdom was, and I'm pretty sure that there are other people that think the same, or that thought the same. I thought that wisdom came with age. I think that that's like an old understanding, or a misunderstanding, basically, right?
Yeah, I would have said the same thing years ago.
Yeah.
Or it came with experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it doesn't.
Yeah. And then the other day I was on Instagram, and there was this video about this child. It's a funny video where the child has his head stuck in between the bars of a balcony. You know how these balconies, they have bars? Well, this child, he's probably, I must say 4. He's got his head stuck. He put his head in between the bars, and he's stuck there, and he's trying to pull it out. He called his father over, and his father was like trying to open the bars, and the father couldn't, pushing with his legs, and just couldn't do it. And at one point the kid said, wait a second, let me see, can I put my arm in? So he was able to put his arm in, and instead of backing up, he went forward.
Oh, wow.
And he got out of it.
That's great. So he knew.
And I was like, see, that's wisdom. And he's 4. Like he was like, okay, well, pulling didn't work. Let me do it from the front, you know? And I think that we kind of like expect wisdom to look a certain way. And we actually experience wisdom on a daily.
Yeah, I fully agree. It's our nature, right? It's just it's seeing it's separate from our intellect, which likes to think it knows everything, but it's our nature just to know what to do, to know where to go, to trust life. And God, I wish it was like so trained out of us when we're kids, right? You know, because as kids, you'd ask your adult peeps in your life, like you can notice when they're not feeling good, right? So you say, well, like, what's wrong, mommy? What's wrong, daddy, or whatever. And parents naturally want to protect their kids. They say, oh no, everything's fine. So there's this knowing, there's this intellect, right, inside, or this felt sense. But then we're told something opposite. And so we stop listening to our knowing, because we want to trust our peeps, our adult, peeps that are taking care of us. And it's not intended to do that harm, but it's trained out of us really young. Kids and dogs, they know when we're happy, glad, sad, mad.
Yeah.
But we stop trusting it. And so we stop trusting that from a very young age. Right. But you're right. Turn your head or put your body through, not backwards.
Yeah.
It's that simple. Keep going.
Yeah. It's like seeing something else, like if the one thing you thought of, the one thing that you thought you're thinking of doesn't work, don't get stuck with that thing that you're thinking of. Look and see if there's something else that you can think about.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
that kid did it, pretty quickly.
That's funny. I gotta
And
see that.
I know that I've done it, I've done it. I know I've done it many times, but it may have taken just a little bit longer, like maybe years. Sometimes it's like, I think it should be this. And I'm like sticking to it, and I'm sticking to it instead of trying to think something different,
Yeah. Do you ever notice though, when you're at that, like trying to push it forward, it feels like you're pushing, it feels like effort, right? It feels like there's that constriction or tightening or forcing something, and it just takes so much energy and effort, and my whole body contorts and just gets like, and as soon as I let it go and look for something bigger, it's like, or something else, it's like, that's why people say like you get insights in the middle of the night or sleeping, right? I used to have to, when I lived in California, I just would go for a hike up on the mountains, and I would figure whatever I needed to figure out because I would let it go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. It's funny because, off camera, we were talking about how I have so many clients right now, which is something new to me, because I've been, and I see that that's what I've been doing. I've been like, okay, I'm going to do it this way, just going to do it this way. And it's going to eventually work. Like you can't say I'm not persistent, because I know I'm persistent. But with the pandemic, I had to think outside the box. I couldn't do this thing that I wanted to do the way that I wanted to do it. And honestly, if I think about it, it was all, I want to say heady, but I don't think that it lands the way that I want to say. It was all planned. It was like a plan that I made in my mind, that I might have created, in 2001, and that I was still trying to follow, and I was still trying to persist, like I'm going to do it this way, instead of looking at the moment now, and also looking at what I actually like, what I'm actually good at doing.
Yeah.
And now, like I what I do for people is I basically help people show up, like shine their light out the way that they want to shine out, you know.
That's wonderful.
And I years ago I used to do open mic nights.
Did you really?
Yeah, I used to I created in for I think it was like 5 years, 5 or 6 years. I created, it all started because I'm a singer and I wanted to have, yeah,
That's awesome.
I wanted to have a place where I could perform because I couldn't perform. And I started by going out to bars and asking them if I could have a gig. And they were like, well, we need a demo. And then I made the demo and then they'd say, I need references. And I'd be like, but I don't have any references. I haven't done anything. So I have to, you guys have to give me a chance, but they wouldn't give me a chance. So I was like, fine, I'll create my own stuff, you know? So I found a place, I found a little cafe and I sang my own stuff for a little while. And then I became friends with the manager and she said, what do you think we could do on Sundays? And I said, you should do open mic nights. And it just turned into this whole thing. Like it lasted for like I said, 5, 6 years. And I was doing open mics and open bands. But the joy of seeing these artists, these people
Mhm.
getting up on stage and showing their own stuff. Like a lot, I had singers, I had people that would come up and they were just basically singing somebody else's song. But I got flabbergasted when I met these singers that were singing their own material. You know, it was just like so awesome. And I loved it.
It's interesting when I hear you talk, I can hear that enthusiasm, that's just like, don't take this the wrong way, but it's like when we geek out about something, when we get really kind of nerdy about whatever it is, or just so excited, like there's so much enthusiasm. It's such a genuine place of, it's no longer that push energy I was talking about. It's life moving through us. And it's
Yes.
hard. I know for me, it's those places that's hard to contain a little bit too. I was talking to a couple yesterday about working with them, doing couples coaching. And I was sharing, some of the ways that I work, especially with the embodiment work, which is really super impactful for couples, the somatic work. And I was just geeking out. I'm like, I have to excuse me. I get really excited about, just it's those places that I wouldn't, I mean, obviously I have to make a living. So there's that part, right? But
Yeah.
if that, it's not about trying to make money. It's not about trying to fill my time. It's fully about something that I get so much excitement out of sharing and helping couples in their relationships in that way. It's like you're saying, like, it's something that we see the need, right? And there's been other places like this in my life too, that you see a need and you just want to just do that, right? You want to give
Yeah.
because it's life coming through you. That's wisdom, that's life, that's whatever it is. But I geek out about that stuff.
I love it. I love it. I actually love the geeking out thing. I never realized it, but I actually love it. I'm a geeker. I love to geek out about stuff and I love to talk to people. I mean, I'm talking to this one client now, like we just started talking and she's geeking out on stuff that she thinks she shouldn't be geeking out about, but she's getting a TikTok following and she's like, and I was talking to her, like I talked to you about it and I get goosebumps. I just
Yeah.
love that energy. I love it when somebody just stops listening to all the constraints that they've put on themselves throughout their life. And then I take it and I, you know, blast it out there. Hey, people, look at this, you know, I just love it.
Yeah.
It's just like something that lights me up and I find fun. And it's funny because I was talking with friends last week. And, you know, when I've been working on living the life I want for years. It's not like it came, you know, the podcast has 3 seasons. It's not like I started this and I said, okay, let's do this. No, I've been looking at how can I have it all for the better part of my life. You know, like hearing somebody telling me no was like, what? Why? Like, really, I would just question it. Why is it a no? I can't, like, so I've been working at this a lot. And one of the things that I was working on, that I kept complaining about, like I'm going to call it complaining, it was like, I don't want to work many hours. I don't want to be just doing a lot of hours. And then I'd hear people, but if you want to be successful, you have to work about a lot of hours. And I'd be like, well, then screw success. I don't want to be successful. You know, like I had this whole, it was all mixed up together. And I was talking with friends and I'm working a lot of hours, but it's not work, you know?
Yeah.
You know, so
Well,
when that thing, you know, when they say, if you love what you do, you'll never work another day in your life.
No, it's true. It's interesting because it's like work is only, you know, there's this definition of work is hard, right? I know there's some people in my life, I'll refrain from saying names, but that like everything is hard and work is hard. And it's not the definition of work that I ascribe to, right? Because what we are in service of in the world is what we love doing, you know, and it really is. It's like, it's what we want to give our love to, you know, it's whatever that is, because that's the energy of it, right? What if work was not work? What if work was love, right? I could love my whole entire life, right? And what I do, I love. So isn't that a better definition? You know?
Yeah, definitely. Love that.
You don't have to work. If work is hard, then you don't have to work. You have to love.
Yeah.
And do more of that. Do more of what you love.
Yeah, just do that all day long. Do that all day long, and you won't regret it. I mean, it's just,
it's freedom.
Like I'm really amazed that, you know, like I went from having 2 clients, you know, persistent clients, and then I had small clients coming in and there, but you know, like basically these 2 clients were like my biggest clients, and they were, you know, they were basically my survival. And I went from that to now I've got like, you know, over 10 clients, and you know, I've got referrals, and I do like one-time jobs here and there, and it's just going so great. And people love what we do together.
Well, you're a diamond. I found you and I was like, this is the best. Help me get my shit together. Oh, can I say that on here?
Yes, of course you can.
To get my shit together on some of the things that have not my ballywick. So I always really, I'm like, why aren't you should be busier? But now I'm afraid to tell people about you because I don't want you to be so busy that you can't fit me in when I need to.
I will always fit you in.
I'll rave about you. I told a few people. I don't know if they've ever reached out, but.
Well, you'll know because I give a referral. I give a referral bonus to my clients. So if they tell me, you will get it.
No, I did tell a few people. Obviously, they didn't reach out, but yeah, it's interesting because also you've been incredibly helpful in helping me move some of the needle forward and things that weren't easy for me or what I enjoyed doing. Isn't that interesting? We all thrive in different areas, right? And that's why we need each other.
Yeah.
Who the hell wants to do everything on their own anyway? It's just not fun. Can't even tell you, I could sit at my desk for days trying to figure out some of the things you helped me figure out, like within an hour's meeting. And isn't that way better that I got to meet you and have some fun doing it? And versus sit there by my lonesome and try to figure it out. We're not meant to be alone. We're meant to, there's more wisdom, that the collective wisdom is way better than individual struggling.
Yeah. And, like, some, we're all here. Like the other day I was talking with a friend and I was like, okay, so we're all from the universe. We all came from there. And then we were put in this human body, and this human body has, a brain and eyes and, touch and smell, and we all see the world differently. We all create something different with all the senses that we have. Right.
Yeah.
So use what you can do and then share it. And then let people share with you what you need to see too,
Yeah.
So that being said, I hear you have a class coming up. So people, listen to this one. What's the class coming up?
A few things, but the one I'm doing, I think that you're speaking to, is a class on clarity. It's a three Wednesdays in a row. I think it starts February 9th. And I'm doing it with my colleague and longtime hiking partner and friend, Anna Scott.
Yeah,
And it's all about learning about clarity and learning how to access clarity. Because what we're talking about, you and I, even today, is like when we get clear on something, life moves that much easier. When we realize that we're stuck and, oh, I don't have to pull myself like 4-year-old back. I can move myself. I can try to wiggle my way through. That's clarity. And when we get clear, life moves us. We don't have to do it. And
clarity creates simplicity is what I say.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And clarity creates action, because as soon as we're clear, it's natural to take action. Most people are not taking action because they're confused, overwhelmed. They're not clear.
Yeah.
When we're clear, it's easy. It's really easy.
Yeah.
There's, and it's, again, it goes from something being hard to something being simple. But I love that clarity creates simplicity. Yeah. And clarity creates action. I can't not. If I'm clear on what's next or where I need to go, it just moves me.
Yeah, you just know what you're going to do. It's like you can see it. That's why it's called clarity. You see what needs to be done. Yeah.
People struggle all the time. I would say it is probably the biggest issue with all my clients, a lack of clarity. We don't always talk about it in terms of clarity. There's a lot of ways to talk about it. But, even clarity between two people, there's always misunderstandings, even when in a relationship work, because people have different perspectives of the way they're looking at something. And there's no right or wrong, but until we actually can see that there's a common seeing, when there's a common seeing then between two different people, there's clarity. And then things just get much easier. But when we're looking at things in different ways, then of course there's misunderstandings. Like all misunderstandings come from a lack of clarity on something. All stuck points come out from a lack of clarity.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about the class, because I also know for me, it's like, if I'm stuck, oh, wait, where am I not clear on this? And how do I access that? So I'm geeking out again. Yes. I can feel it.
That's good. This is the best place to geek out.
Yeah. And Anna's great. We have lots of fun together. So I can imagine that this is going to be both an informative and fun, lighthearted, and supportive class. So starting February 9th.
So everyone, if you want to get more information, you just have to go to wisdomrising.coach.
Yes.
In the events area.
You got it. You've been poking around. Yes.
I've been poking around, I have to admit. And there's also annascott.co if you guys want to check that out too. Some people know Anna because they know that I produce her podcast. So I've been posting about that too. So, and if they listen to Anna Scott, they know you because you were in the podcast with Anna Scott too. So
I was her first
so,
interview. Is that,
yeah,
what do you call me?
episode.
I was her first episode. I was her practice. I want to be on it again because I feel like, now that she's warmed up a little bit,
Yeah, she could just tell her, hey, by the way, I think it's time for a new episode.
Yeah, well, especially because we're doing the class together too.
Yeah, that's a good
So,
idea. That's a good
yeah.
idea. You guys should do that. I'm going around, people that I've seen. I'm doing a second also because I'm at season 3, and from season 1, there's been changes, and that's the whole thing, right? It's like what I'm seeing more and more is that everything is breathing. It's constantly in movement. It's constantly moving, so it changes. And then I used to think, oh, I don't like change. And I like literally I remember creating these habits so that I would know exactly how the day would go. I was like, okay, I'm going to wake up at 9, I'm going to have breakfast, I'm going to do this, I'm going to drive my car this way. Like I had these little habits that I thought kept me safe at the time,
Yes.
and I was like, I don't like change. And now I'm just like, no, I'm just like, let's go, whatever, let's do it. It's just so much more fun to deal with the present moment.
But it's true. There's a lot of, I think, habits for me. I used to feel like similar. They kept me safe, or they kept me, and they would, in some respects, having habits helps me not have to think or make decisions about things.
Yeah.
But then the flip side is that I'm not in touch with my nature on a given day, right? Like it used to be a habit of I'd have the same thing for breakfast every day. Yeah. But then my body would want something different and I wasn't aware. And then I would get all cranky and didn't know why.
Yeah.
So
I honestly love habits. I love that we're creatures of habits. Mm-hmm. But I love it. I love it even more now that I know that I don't have to be led by these habits.
Yeah.
So now I use them. Like I use, what I do in my business, I do a lot of automation. I help people do automation. Well, I bank on habits. Like when I'm working, like right now, I'm working with people that are past, like they're over 70, and they're learning how to use computers, and they're learning how to create social media posts, and they're learning how to do this stuff. And they're trying to learn everything at once. And I'm like, okay, no, let me create a habit for you so that, you won't have to think about it. So I actually bank on that, because what happens is if they get these habits, they learned how to drive, they can learn how to create posts. They can learn how to do that. So I give them a series of posts. And then when I see that they're comfortable with it, then I start pointing out, did you see what you just do there? And then they start opening up, and then it starts opening up, because in the beginning, what happens is when they're trying to learn everything, so like, let's say I'm creating, okay, we're going to create a post. You're going to go there. And they're like, yeah, but why do I go there? Why don't I go there? And what happens if I click here? And I'm like, no, focus. Like you're trying to learn the whole thing. Let's just focus on this thing. Don't go there yet. It's just creating more thought and removing your clarity on what you're trying to do. So, nice. And I love, like, I see people that are like, they're so autonomous now. Like they started with, what are you doing? And now they're like, oh, click, click, click. And they're doing their own stuff, creating their own images, posting their own stuff. It's just like really, really inspiring to see them. So I use I'm geeking out again, as you can see.
I can see that. I love that. I love it.
So I use the power of habits in my teachings when I can see that people are just getting lost and they need it, right?
Yeah. Well, because then we don't have to make the decisions. It's like, and making decisions for people, I don't know where I heard this a long time ago, that people only have so many decisions in them each day, which is why at the end of the day, people are usually fried. Yeah. But no, it's true. Like when we can relax and just know what to do without having to process. Our intellect likes to focus on what it knows,
Yeah.
right? It's
Yeah.
that back to
I
the
like what
clarity.
you just said. I like what you just said. We
Well, it's
make
clarity.
decisions. We make decisions every day. See what comes up for me when you say that, like we're so exhausted because we've made so many decisions. But
Fatigue,
I
real.
think that it's the not listening also. Because when you listen to yourself, it's not tiring. At the end of the day, you're fine. But
Very
if
much.
for everything you have to think about it, okay, let me think about it. If I do this, what happens? Well, this is gonna, and I know me, I know what I would do. I mean, and when it was time for a decision, I mean, I'd say, okay, here's a problem. Okay, here's a possible solution. And then I go in this rabbit hole. I could do this, could do that, could do this, could do that. And then I'd get to an eventual end result. And then if I
Mhm.
didn't like it, I'd come back and I'd try another one. you know so
Yep.
and I do, and we're so powerful that we can do this very, very quickly.
Yep.
Right now I'm just kind of like, which one do I want? This one. Let's go there. Let's do this. So it's not, and I trust myself that wherever I'm going to end up, I'll figure it out then.
Yep. Yeah. Well, it's interesting. You're right about decision fatigue. We're not listening. If it's that taxing, we're not listening to wisdom. We're listening to we're over processing. It's not clear.
Yeah.
And sometimes we have to back off until we can get clear. Like,
And I think that also there's that the thing for me that really gave me release was I just don't know. Right? Like, I don't know is actually the answer. Like, it's actually an answer. If you don't know, just don't touch, don't do it, just don't. I mean,
Yep.
because if you
Well,
know, go.
yeah. Oh, I think of I don't know. Like, I sometimes equate it where it's like you've planted seeds, but you're not sure because it's a mixed, like a wildflower bag of seeds, mixed wildflowers, and you don't know what's going to come up. And if you don't know yet, it's because it hasn't revealed itself yet. So sometimes it's just like, back away from the thinking, ma'am.
Yeah.
Back away from the thinking, ma'am, and just, wait for the flowers to bloom. And we know. When we know, we know. We don't know, we're not supposed to.
It's like the sign at the zoo, don't feed the bears. It's like,
Don't
feed the thoughts. Just like, step away.
That's totally, I say that to myself all the time. Back away from the thinking, Julie. Just back away.
Well, Julie, this was so much fun. Thank you so much for accepting my offer.
Oh, I'm so glad. I feel like I don't know you that well. We haven't worked together that long, but I just love every time we connect.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I really
Me too.
do.
It's like, living in the moment, being with what is. I get the goosies. When I get the goosies, we're sitting in wisdom.
Yeah,
So
I love that.
thank you so much. And people will go visit your website, wisdomrising.coach.
Yeah. Thank you.
And what I'm going to say to everybody is, if you like this chat, please leave me a comment. Follow my YouTube, follow my Insta, follow me, just follow me. Please like me.
Follow Jasmine. It's where it's at. Jasmine's where it's at.
And then I'm going to finish up with dream it, dare it, do it, live the life you want, and take care, everybody. Bye.